So welcome to my allotment. Today I'm going to be talking about when is the right time to pick pears. If you've not already subscribed to my YouTube channel, if you could please do so, because you'll get lots of helpful hints and tips all throughout the year from my home garden, my allotment and also my home kitchen. Now it does all depend on what type of pears you've got, so there's no exactly hard and fast rules of exactly when you do need to pick them. So it all depends what type you've got, and it does all depend on the weather. You know, sometimes they mature a lot quicker than others, but there's a few general rule of thumbs that normally send out alarm bells to me that the pears are ready to be cooked. And one thing that you should know about pears, unless you've got certain types, generally speaking, they're never ready to eat when they're ready to pick, if that makes sense. Probably doesn't make any sense. But what it means is you need to pick them off the pear. They won't ripen on the pear tree, so you need to pick them off and then you ripen them at home and then you eat them. When you first pick them off and they're not ripe, you can however cook them, and that hastens the ripening process. So if you pick them off straight away and you're really keen to eat them, you can cook them, and then that does them for you. So make a pie or a cake or something like that. Now the all important thing that we're all dying to hear about is, when can I pick them then? Well, there's a few signs and a few simple tests you can do. Now I came up here this morning and I found a couple on the floor, so that's a really good sign. You don't want to leave it too long, because if they all drop to the floor and hit the floor, they will get damaged and eaten and bruised. So I saw a few dropped off, so that sent alarm bells to me that it's probably worth testing when they're ready. And also, if you see the birds are starting to nibble on them, that's also a sign. They often realise when they're ready long before you do. So there we go. So I had a few that I've already picked up off the floor. Some of them were a little bit damaged, so I've had to leave them, but there's nothing wrong with that. It's just dropped off. Now the really easy way to tell is grab the pear, and if it comes off really easily like that has done, that's ready to pick. If you have to yank at them to get them off, they're not quite ready. So all I'll do is just pick them all off. Any that are slightly damaged, looks like it's burrowed through that, I will obviously definitely cut that up straight away and eat that first. That's not going to ripen, that's going to go bad really quickly. And rather than waste the whole of that pear, if I get that home and slice up any damaged ones, which is what I will do when I get them home, I will go through them and pick out all the ones that are damaged and make sure I cook those. And the ones that aren't damaged, the ones that are completely perfect, like that, I will lay out in a tray with some newspaper underneath it so that they're protected, and I'll do them in single layers, because if you start stacking them on top of each other, if one does start to go, then you won't know it's happening. So that's a really good tip. So there we go. If you want to see that again, it will just easily break off without any real pressure, and that's why when they're ready to get off, you've really got to get them all off, because if you don't, this time of year, we're in September, the wind will just start to knock them off, and then you'll end up losing lots and lots of them. So I'm obviously not going to store them like this. I'm just using this just to pick them, just because it's an easy way to carry them back home, because quite often I walk up here like I have done today. So this is a really easy way of doing it. So I do hope that that's really helped you, and if you've got any pears, you've had a good crop. It's a really funny thing actually, because you often think that you haven't really got that many, and then by the time you've gone around the whole tree, you've actually got quite a lot. And they are really nice in obviously cooking them down to do obviously compots and pies, but when they're really ripe, one of my top tips is to do a pear smoothie. You can Google it and find some really good recipes. Pear smoothies are really actually quite gorgeous, far better than you think they would be, and if you've got some that are even slightly overripe, that's a really good way of using them up. I do hope this little short video has been helpful, and I'd love to hear how you're doing growing pears too.